Going to start with injuries. We're going to put Greedy on IR this week. You know, he has a nerve injury in his shoulder, and he is working so hard in rehab, but just the docs felt it was best to shut him down, see how it responds. There's no surgery required at this point. There's potential that he's back this year. We just don't know. But I'm going to obviously leave this to the medical experts, leave it to the trainers and the docs, and that's where we're going to go with Greedy. So disappointing for him, but I still hold out hope, and he's doing everything he can. From the game, Wyatt Teller strained his calf. That's going to be week to week, see how he responds. Ronnie Harrison's in the concussion protocol. Again, you know how that goes, just see how he responds. And then Baker, as you know, the x-rays were negative. He's sore, and then we'll see how he works through it this week. On the game, you know, really proud of the guys that stepped up. You know, that's a great team win, and in great team wins, you're going to need guys that step up. And there were a bunch of guys where their number was called, and they went right in there and performed. You know, Chris Hubbard, Rashard Higgins, Dearness Johnson, Sheldrick Redwine, Ronnie Harrison, making big plays, and I was really proud of those guys. And that's I think speaks to those guys preparing and making sure they're ready when their number was called. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Coach. Our first question will go to Jeff Shadell.
Hey, Kevin, one of the things that I've noticed the last few games especially, you guys have done a great job of minimizing penalties. No coach wants penalties, but what goes into that concentration to make sure that is minimized?
Well, I think you got to play with great technique, number one, and I think the guys know what we're asking of them in the technique department. And then a lot of it has to do with knowing your job. If you know where to line up and those type of things, that eliminates a lot of the foolish pre-snap penalties. But I think I'd give the credit to the players and understanding that they got to play at a certain tempo, and that's really not us playing sloppy.
Tom Withers, you have our next question.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Coach. In terms of Baker, is it specific to the ribs? Is that the only thing that's hurting on him?
Yes.
Okay, because on the sideline, they were kind of checking him for everything, I guess, before he went into the tent. And you brought up that list of kind of unsung guys that produced yesterday. Kevin, optimally, what do you hope is the lasting effect when guys do come in and contribute like that?
I just know this season is so long, Tom, and we're going to continue to need everybody. And this week it's going to be somebody else. And I promise you 2 weeks from now, it's going to be somebody else. And that's just how it goes. And guys got to be ready. And I think, again, I go back to the preparation part of it. They got to know their job cold, even if you don't get reps. That's the other thing with this. You know, Chris Hubbard didn't get very many guard reps this week, and he goes in there and performs. So that's just how it goes when you're a backup. You're providing depth, and then at a moment's notice, you're a starter.
You don't want injuries, obviously, but it almost makes your job a little bit easier in that when you tell these guys those things that you just said, and then it happens, and then they deliver, it just kind of perpetuates itself, doesn't it?
It does. And, you know, I want to also point out a guy like Rashard Higgins, you know, was inactive there for a couple games through no fault of his own. That's how the numbers went. And he works so hard at practice, gives a great look, whether he's on the scout team or special teams, it doesn't matter. He does his job, studies, prepares. He's a consummate pro. And then, so I'm really proud of him, and I'm happy for him that he was able to score last night.
Thanks, Coach.
Next up is Scott Petrick.
Hey, Kevin. I wanted to go through a couple other injuries with you. Jacob Phillips, is he okay?
We'll see. I think he's got this knee injury that he's going to keep working through, and we'll see as this week goes.
Same knee that he hurt in week one. And Olivier Vernon looked like he left the game yesterday. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
And Ogunjobi and Joseph, you have hope that they might be able to go this week?
Yeah, I'm hopeful on both of those guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Next up is Jake Trotter.
Yeah, Kevin, some of the plays that Miles is making, what does that do for your team when you have a guy that can basically score points for the defense or set up points for the offense? And I'm sure that he alleviates some of the pressure elsewhere defensively because he requires so much attention from an offense.
You're right, Jake. He gets a ton of attention. I can promise you on Wednesday morning in the opponents' meeting rooms, they got a big circle on number 95, and they may be referring to him as a game wrecker because he has that ability to wreck the game from their perspective. And he's applying pressure. Even when he's not getting home, he's applying pressure, and it should open things up for the rest of our guys. And I think he's working really, really hard. He prepares on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then he performs on Sunday.
Zach Jackson, you have our next question.
Coach, I'm curious, after a game like last night, how do you celebrate or unwind? Or are you already thinking about the next week's game before you go to bed?
No, I'm not thinking about the next week's game. I can celebrate for the remaining hours of the evening, but typically I sit down on the couch and have the TV watch me.
Thanks, Zach. Next up is Andrew Gribble.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to follow up on what you were talking about with Chris Hubbard. How tough is it to have a guy that can play so effectively for you at tackle in week 3 and then come back and play so well at guard?
Yeah, that's a big deal. When you're providing depth, if you can provide depth in a versatile way like Chris does, be able to go in there at tackle, at guard. He's had center snaps, reps for us at practice, so that is a huge deal. Versatility for any backup is so important because in a game you can't dress everybody, and then you really don't know where the injury may or may not occur. So for him to be able to provide depth at every one of those spots is outstanding.
Daryl Ryder, you'll have our next question.
Hey, Coach, a couple things. First, what does Victory Monday look like for the Browns? Do you do anything different on Mondays after wins versus losses? No, it's Monday. Time to work, time to learn from the tape. And then I wanted to ask you about your defense. The takeaways obviously are noticeable. Myles Garrett's impact's noticeable. But yesterday, you guys were able to get off the field a little more consistently than in those first 4 weeks. Do you think that the turnovers and those impact plays from Myles are kind of manifesting itself in other ways and, helping those other guys do their jobs and, begin the process of getting off the field on a more consistent basis on third down? Yeah, Daryl, we talk a lot about takeaways and how we do that and the technique, and that'll always be a huge emphasis for us. And like you said, we've tried to put an emphasis on getting off the field, and you get in these moments on third down, it really goes, it also speaks to first and second down. If you can get them into a 3rd and 7+, it's way easier to get off the field than 3rd and 2, so to speak. So I think they all go together, but our focus continues to be on playing technique sound, playing fundamentally sound, and that typically rewards you by getting off the field.
Tony Grossi, your line's open.
All right, Kevin, just wondering what your take is on the divergent performances of Mayfield in the first half versus the second half, not just yesterday, but in the 4 wins alone, his rating is like 38.4 in the second half, over 100 in the first half. Is this the result of game management by you, or is it execution problems? And is it concerning, or is it no big deal?
Well, I think, first of all, Tony, I can do a much better job as a play caller in these moments where we need to get into a rhythm, get the offense into a rhythm. So there's some calls that I really want back. I know I can do a better job. As it pertains to Baker in the second half, I think he's doing what it takes to win. We're going to be in some games where you're playing 4-minute offense, so to speak, and you're playing conservatively and you're chewing up the clock. And then we know we're going to be in some games where we're going to have to open it up. I think you saw in that first half, we did a nice job. We were able to move the ball. And then for a bunch of reasons, we weren't in the second half, but I would put a lot of that on me.
Okay, one other thing. Pittsburgh week means a lot to Cleveland fans. You're new to the division. What kind of emphasis? Do you go just another game this week or more than that?
Just trying to go 1-0, Tony. I understand fandom, and I get all that, but within these walls, we're just trying to go 1-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Dan Lavi, you're up.
Hey, Coach, I have one more on Chris Hubbard. I mean, this is a guy that originally signed here to be a starter. Obviously, he's not doing that anymore. And what does it say about him as a person, as a player, that he was so willing to embrace this new role that you guys gave him?
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Chris. You know, he's a key member of our social justice committee. He's a great teammate. His teammates really respect him. He does anything you ask of him. That's just kind of the makeup of Chris Hubbard.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Go to Nate Ulrich next.
Hey, Kevin, when you say week to week for Wyatt Teller, does that mean that, you know, you don't expect him to play in Pittsburgh? I mean, if you said day to day, I might interpret it differently.
Yeah. We'll see, Nate, but it's a calf strain, so I would put it at week to week, less so day to day.
Okay. And based on what, you know, your doctors and Joe Sheehan have told you, it's not involving the Achilles? Because when I hear calf, I wonder.
No.
Okay. And how well had Wyatt been playing for you guys, and just your level of confidence? I know you've been asked about Hubbard a few times, but you guys can keep rolling at that position.
Yeah, obviously Wyatt disappointed that he was in there and then out with that injury and last night, but he's playing hard. He's getting people on the ground. I think we've talked about him before. He's a very, very hard worker. One of the first guys out on the field, one of the last guys to leave, constantly working his technique. So I know he'll be fighting to get back out there.
Mary Kay Cabot, your line's open.
Yeah, getting back to Baker for a second, Coach, he considered that to be his worst game out of the 5 that he's played so far. You know, did you see it that way? And, you know, what are some of the things that you saw on tape that he can do better?
Well, I like that he's hard on himself. You know, he wants to be great. And I think he's doing some really nice things. You know, for us, it always comes back to the turnover margin. And nobody's more disappointed at the 2 interceptions than he is. I think we can learn from him. You don't like those interceptions to happen, obviously, but if you can learn from them and prevent them from happening in the future.
Thank you.
Scott Petrick, we'll go to you.
Hey, Kevin, when you look at the run game, how much of the, not lack of success, but the difference in what it had been doing the previous 3 weeks, how much do you attribute that to the Colts? How much to not have a Nick, or what other factors are in play?
Yeah, I think, Scott, we knew it was going to be hard, and those were some hard yards. What was it, 130 some? I mean, those were – the guys earned every single one of those, and that's a testament to their defense. It's a physical front. They run. They did a very, very nice job. And then we stuck with it and grinded it out. That's what the game called for.
So you think, I mean, from your perspective, the line was still blocking the same, your runners were still running the same way?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Next up, Marla Rydon.
Yeah, Kevin, I have kind of a weird one, but I don't know if you heard the story about Redwine talking to the ball.
I did.
Is that, I mean, is honesty, I mean, you have some guys like that, you know, kind of, you know, who are you impressed with how they're willing to kind of open up and just kind of, you know, that's kind of something not everyone would tell us.
Yeah, that was unique. You know, we did talk a little bit about visualization last week, so he took it to another level. So nice job, Sheldrick.
And one quick thing about Baker, I mean, I don't know if you've had quarterbacks with rib injuries before, but, you know, he said, you know, mama didn't raise no wuss, and like he can gut it out. But are those sometimes not in the players', you know, hands as far as how much you can handle?
Yeah, Marla, I think honestly every injury with our guys we got to be smart about. I know Baker, I know he's tough, and I know he's going to fight through this, but we'll be smart.
Thank you.
We'll go back to Jake Trotter.
Kevin, there's going to be a lot of attention on Miles this week, and especially probably on Sunday, just given what happened last year. What do you want to see from him this week, and what do you want to see from him in the game on Sunday?
Yeah, Jake, I think he's done a great job, you know, this whole offseason training camp, all through these first few ball games. He's all about ball. He's providing leadership to the defense, to the team. We know about the production, but I just think the things he does out there on the field, in the locker room, providing leadership has been very impressive to me.
Thanks, Jake. We'll take three more: Jeff Shadell, Tony Grossi, PJ. Jeff Shadell, your line's open.
Hey, Kevin, with Ronnie Harrison and concussion protocol, you might see a lot of Sheldrick Redwine. So what's he been like? Because we don't get to talk to him very much.
Yeah, Sheldrick's been really good. You know, he's, as you saw, ready to go in there and knew his job. I mean, that's so important when guys study and prepare like our guys do. When they get put in that spot, they can respond because they know what to do. And I think Sheldon is an example of a guy that really prepares hard during the week, knowing that his number could be called.
Tony Grossi, you're up.
Kevin, could the 28-yard run by Dearness Johnson, was Hunt unavailable on that play? And second of all, could you talk about that run, the blocks he got from Higgins and Hubbard?
Yeah, we're just trying to be smart with Kareem, Tony, very mindful of workload, and credit to Stump there. He does a great job. We have a plan, we talk about it, and then Stump executes it, so he does a great job. And then you're right. I mean, that was talk about individual effort by 30, but then watching Hub and Richard get those blocks, I mean, that's big time. And those three guys we just mentioned, never know who it's going to require to make a big play to win these games.
And the play before that, you had Baker pass on second down. Is that one of those play calls you regret with the rather than eat up clock there?
Yeah, I think, again, learn from those. Could I have given him a better play call? Yes. I think he'll learn from that play as well, that we got to make sure that clock is running on that play.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Our last one goes to PJ Ziegler.
Hey, Kevin, you guys obviously have an identity or had an identity, going into the Colts game of running the football. And then yesterday, the passing game was the one that kind of put you over the top. How dangerous does that make this offense when you can be successful, not only running the football, but also throwing the football? And then the defenses that have to prepare for that, how tough does that make it?
Yeah, I think defenses go into a game trying to make you one-dimensional a lot of times. And for us, we're going to be able to move the ball any which way we can. And it really depends on what the defense is doing and what they're susceptible to. And that really is a week-to-week proposition.